You're about to learn the difference between steeping and decocting when it comes to creating the perfect cup of tea. My name is Malcolm Saunders. Welcome to another episode of Easy Upgrades. Here we're going to explore this idea of steeping versus decocting. What's the difference? Why would you choose one or the other? Well, it all depends on the type of herb you're using. What type of tea are you creating? Now, if we're going to choose, I have this as an example. This is one of my favorite teas. It's from Harmonic Arts and it's called Green Tea. Now, it's full of leaves like nettle tops, lemon balm, mugwort, cedar tips, alfalfa, bull kelp, and spearmint. Right? So these are leaves that are very kind of, soft and gentle in nature. Things like spearmint, right? Mint has these volatile oils. This is the perfect example of where we want to use steeping, right? Like most tea bags, when you're out in the store or when you're at home and you have a tea bag, you warm up the water and you just gently steep that tea bag, right? So that's called steeping. And that is a gentle amount of heat, just enough to be able to pull out the properties of those leaves, those flowers, whatever it is that you're steeping. They have more gentle, maybe even volatile oils, where if you did too much heat and or for too long, you would begin to lose those properties. So really quickly, a steeping, I've got some water just brought to warm, not to a boil, doesn't need to even to be that hot. You just begin to notice the little bits and bubbles beginning to form as if it's going to come to a boil. You put in as much herb tea as you want. Obviously, I've got this in a bulk form, but absolutely the concept of steeping applies to tea bags, of course. And then I'll pour my warm water over that. And then that begins the steeping process. Now, most teas will just steep for a couple of minutes. I mean, you can already begin to see the color and therefore the nutrients, the properties begin to be extracted just from the warmth of the water. Some teas you can actually do in the form of a sun tea. You just put them into room temperature, even cold water. Like hibiscus is a great example. As soon as you put hibiscus even into cold water, it just begins to kind of extract and pull those properties out. Give it a little shake, leave it out in the sun. Some people like to do it overnight with the moon. This idea of the sun tea or the moon tea, and just letting those properties seep out, extract into the water. Here works quite well, quite nicely, just with some warm water. Now I have a nice warm cup of tea. I let that kind of sit and steep for just a minute or two, and I'm good to go, and I can strain that out into my cup, and I'm ready to enjoy. Now, a decoction, this one might be a new terminology for you, and you're wondering, when might I decoct something? Well, if you have a root, if you have a bark, if you have a mushroom, these things that have more of a tough, woody-like substance, a simple steeping, whether a sun tea or, bringing water to warm and dropping those herbs in there, not going to be able to pull out the properties, definitely to their full effect. So reishi mushroom, chaga, these medicinal mushrooms, they're tough, woody substances. Roots like rhodiola root or paudiarco bark, they're tough. You wouldn't actually even be able to kind of eat them or chew them, right? To be able to extract their properties. So we need to do what's called a decoction. What that is and what that means is with water, we actually do bring it to a boil. Let's turn it down to a simmer. And once it's on that simmer, then we add our herb. So here's our rhodiola. Again, any size pot with however much herb you want, depending on its strength. And you put that into the pot. And now with that water at that kind of low simmer rolling boil, that provides enough heat to be able to extract out all the properties of that particular herb, be it the bark, be it the root, be it the mushroom. And take, again, depending on what it is, give it at least, 5 to 10 minutes. But you'll notice the longer you let it go, the stronger it gets, right? So the length of time, the longer, the stronger. I know some people who do decoctions for, several hours. But absolutely, depending on the root, the herb, the mushroom, you can have a good, strong decoction, within 10 or 15 minutes on that low simmer. And you'll notice the longer it sits there, the more it begins to pull those properties. You'll see a darkness and color. You'll notice a strength and flavor. And oftentimes, this types of method here, just like the steeping, in fact, is you can get a second extraction, right? So now that I've got my tea that's been steeped for a few minutes, you can see It's much darker, stronger flavor. Maybe I'm ready, I'm kind of heading out the door, I'm going to pour my tea, just pour that through a strainer. I'm ready to go, enjoy that cup of tea. But what I can also do now is next time I would like a cup of this particular tea. I'm going to come back in the evening. I'll re-steep it with warm water and get more, be able to pull out more properties. So steeping, at most up to 3 times, but usually, first cup's a little stronger, second cup, you get the rest of it out. Now with a decoction, similar principles apply, right? We let it, that rolling boil, just kind of pull out and extract the properties, pour it off, enjoy as is, and then refill with water, and then re-steep it, re-decoct it again, and you get another extraction off that. So there you go. That's the difference between steeping and decocting. Important to know what you're working with, whether it's a leaf or a flower, or whether it's a root or a bark, and use the appropriate method to create yourself a perfect cup of tea.